Hello everyone. Before we jump into today's story, make sure to like the video and subscribe to the channel. And don't forget to leave a comment telling me where you're watching from and what time it is right now, because that way, YouTube will keep showing you more stories just like this one. Alright, sit back, relax, turn down the lights if you dare. And now, let's begin. The first thing that felt off was the silence, not the peaceful countryside silence the listing promised. This was heavy. Like the whole house was holding its breath. I just set my bags down when I noticed it. No birds outside. No breeze. Just stillness, like the moment right before something crashes. The place was cute. I won't lie, rustic, clean, charmingly isolated, according to the description. A solo weekend to reset my brain, get some writing done, be alone. I'd been scrolling Airbnb for hours before I picked this one. It looked perfect. But then I opened my laptop to check in with my sister and noticed the Wi-Fi network. There were only 2 signals. One was just called Netgear 54. The other right underneath was in all caps. Get out. He actually laughed at first. Thought maybe it was someone being edgy or trying to prank tourists. Classic small town keep out vibes, but something about it didn't feel like a joke. The router was right there on the living room shelf. I checked the back, labeled Netgear 54, so unless there was another house nearby, which there wasn't, someone had either brought another router out here or renamed theirs just to mess with whoever stayed here next. Funny, right? Sure. Until the sun goes down. That night I couldn't sleep. The bed was soft enough, and the heater was on low, humming just enough to keep the cold from crawling in. But I couldn't shake the feeling that I wasn't alone. You know that feeling? When you're lying in bed and, not think, not guess, know someone's watching you? It was like that. I kept telling myself it was just the house. Old places creak, shadows move. But at 2:13 a.m., I heard the front door click, just once. Like it was being tested. Not fully opened. Not knocked on, just a slow, deliberate test. I sat up, heart pounding, listening so hard I could hear my pulse in my ears. No footsteps. No voice, no car engine outside. I checked the security lock. It was still latched. Door was shut, but I didn't sleep after that. Not even a little. The next morning I messaged the host. Hey, I heard something weird at the door last night. Probably nothing, but just checking, any chance someone else lives nearby or checks in on the house. She replied fast. Almost too fast. Hi. Nope, just you up there. It's all yours. Probably raccoons, haha. They're bold sometimes. The smiley face made me feel like I was overreacting. I wanted to believe her. I did, until I opened my phone. And saw that overnight, the Wi-Fi name had changed. It no longer said get out. It said, why didn't you? I stared at it for a full minute before turning the phone off. It felt like something inside me went completely cold, like I wasn't just being watched, but interacted with. I checked the router again. Still labeled Netgear 54. No new device in the house. No other networks nearby. And yet, someone had changed that name. Overnight. While I slept. Was it possible the host was just trolling me? I texted her again. Hey, did you change the Wi-Fi name? Her reply was longer this time. Oh wow. No, definitely not. That's super weird. We've had weird glitches out there before. Maybe a neighbor's signal is bouncing in. I'll check with my husband. Sorry about that. Again with the cheerful tone. It felt off. Too casual, too unconcerned. I went to a coffee shop in town that afternoon. I just needed people, noise, normalcy. While sipping a burnt latte and trying to breathe. I looked up the address on Google Street View, just out of curiosity, except it didn't load. I zoomed out. Nearby roads, gas stations, all visible. But when I clicked the pin for the house itself, the street view blurred out. like it had been censored. No house picture. No nearby images. Nothing. I didn't even know you could request that for private properties. I googled the host's name. The property title: Cozy Hilltop Cabin. Total privacy. No results except the Airbnb listing. No Facebook. No phone number. Nothing. It was like this place didn't exist outside of Airbnb. That night, I brought a kitchen knife upstairs with me. I know how that sounds. I do, but I couldn't shake the crawling feeling in my skin. Like my body was trying to warn me. I didn't even undress. Just lay under the covers, fully clothed, knife tucked under the pillow. I left a podcast playing on low, just to have some sound in the room. I couldn't handle the silence again. At 1:42 a.m., the podcast paused on its own, not skipped, not buffered. Paused. I reached for the phone and froze, because outside the window, in the yard below, a light was on. Not from the house. Not a porch light. It was the cold white glow of a phone screen. Someone was standing just beyond the tree line, holding a phone, pointed directly at my window. I hit the floor instantly. Crawled out of view. I don't remember breathing. I just remember the rushing sound in my ears and the pulse behind my eyes. I stayed like that, curled up, staring at the wall for maybe 5 minutes. 10. Then the front door creaked. I heard it this time. The slow drag of hinges. The soft click as it touched the wall. Whoever it was inside. I didn't know what to do. I had no weapon except that knife. No signal on my phone. No neighbors. No landline. I stayed upstairs, silent, listening. There were no footsteps. No voice, but something else happened. From the floorboards beneath me came the sound of typing. Light, mechanical, deliberate. Someone was using my laptop. I fought every instinct and crawled over to the bedroom door. Cracked it open just a centimeter. Down the stairs, across the dark hallway, I could see the glow of the screen in the living room. And the back of someone's head. A person. Sitting in my chair. Typing on my laptop. Their body was still. Completely still. Not hunched. Not relaxed. Just upright, staring at the screen. I closed the door. Slowly. Silently. Heart shaking my whole chest. After maybe 20 minutes, the typing stopped. I waited another hour before daring to open the door again. When I finally crept downstairs, knife raised. Pulse hammering. The room was empty. But the laptop was open, and a notepad window was up on the screen. One line. Typed over and over. Maybe 50 times. Get out, get out, get out, get out, and then one final line at the bottom. I see you reading. Fissy slammed the laptop shut. Packed everything in under 5 minutes. Didn't even fold anything, just stuffed it all into the duffel and ran to the car. The road out was darker than it should have been. Even with headlights on high, I felt like the forest was swallowing the light. I didn't stop until I hit the main highway. Didn't check my phone. Didn't breathe, just drove until I hit a diner 20 miles out and finally connected to Wi-Fi. Again. My phone blew up with texts from my sister, but one notification stood out. An email from Airbnb. Subject line: thanks for your stay at Cozy Hilltop Cabin. I opened it. The receipt had one item under additional charges. Security camera usage, $0. Pup poll is part 2 of your immersive first-person horror story. Continuing directly from part 1. Approx. Word count, approximately 2,100 words. I stared at that email for a long time. Security camera usage, $0. Kept rereading it like my brain couldn't process what the words actually meant. Cameras, as in plural. As in the house where I slept, showered, cried, hid with a knife. There hadn't been any cameras in the house. At least not any that were visible. But the thing that scared me the most was the price. $0. Like I hadn't just used the cameras, like someone else had. Like someone had already been watching. The diner suddenly felt too bright, too loud, too open. People laughing, forks clinking. Everyone safe in their own little bubbles while I sat there shaking, clutching my phone like it was about to explode in my hand. My sister texted again. "Hey, are you alive? Why aren't you answering?" I typed back. "I think someone was in the house with me. Heading home. I'll explain later." But before I could send it, the screen flickered just once. A tiny glitch. Not enough to be suspicious. Not enough to mean anything, but it was the exact same flicker my laptop did when that person was typing on it. I hit send before I could second guess myself, tossed a 20 on the table, and got back in the car. I didn't go home. Not yet. I parked behind the diner where no one could see me and connected to the Wi-Fi again. My hands were shaking so hard, I kept mistyping my password. I needed to check something. When you get an Airbnb, they give you a guidebook link. Usually it's just instructions on where the trash bins are, what to do if the toilet clogs. That kind of stuff. I opened it. Scrolled. Most of it was normal. Then I got to the very bottom. There it was. A section that hadn't been there before. Cameras and security system information. It had a tiny arrow next to it. I tapped it, and the page that opened nearly made me drop the phone. It said, Camera 1, living room, online. Camera 2, kitchen, online. Camera 3, upstairs. Hallway, online. Camera 4, main bedroom. Online. Camera 5, basement. Offline. My mouth went dry. There were 5 cameras. Online. Actively installed. 1 in every room I had been. In one pointing directly at the bed. The bed where I slept. The bed where I hid. The bed where I sat up at 2 in the morning, shaking because someone stood outside my window. And then there was the basement camera. Offline. Why only that one? I kept staring at it until the screen dimmed. My body felt numb. There was only one button underneath the list. A blue hyperlink. View past recordings. Should have closed the phone. I should have thrown it. I should have driven to the nearest police station, but I tapped it, because of course I did. Because when your brain wants answers, fear is just background noise. There were dozens of recordings. All dated. All time-stamped. The earliest was from 3 weeks ago. The most recent was from my breath caught. 1 hour ago. An hour. An hour since I left. My thumb hovered. I didn't want to open it. I needed to open it. When the video loaded, my stomach twisted. Showed the living room. Empty. Then movement. Someone walked into frame. At first, I thought the camera glitched because the figure looked blurry, like the lens couldn't focus on them. But then they came closer, and I realized they weren't blurry. They were wearing a mask. A completely featureless white mask. Smooth. Blank. Like something you'd see in a cheap Halloween aisle. No expressions. Just 2 eye holes. The figure walked to the center of the living room and stood facing the camera. Not moving. Not swaying. Just standing. Then, without warning, the video cut to black. I checked the length. 11 seconds. The next recording was from the hallway camera. I opened it. The masked person was on the stairs now. Halfway up. Head tilted toward the camera like they were listening. Or smiling. Or both. They lifted something into view. A phone. The screen glowed in their hand. Cold shiver crawled down my spine. The person outside my window. The one holding a phone. It wasn't a random stranger. It was this person watching me sleep, recording from inside the house. Video ended. I opened the next. And the next. My heart pounded harder with each one. Then I reached the bedroom recording. The thumbnail alone made me nauseous. It showed me asleep on my side, with the blanket pulled up to my shoulder. And in the corner of the frame a pale shape. Slowly emerging from the dark. I hit play. I don't remember breathing. I don't think I did. The video started with me asleep, curled up, breathing softly. Then, the closet door behind me creaked open. I didn't hear it that night. But the camera did. The masked figure slipped out, silent, slow. They stood beside the bed, watching me, inches from my face. And then, God, I wish I hadn't seen this. They lifted a hand and gently brushed their fingers across my hair. I flinched in my sleep. But I didn't wake. The masked person froze, then pulled their hand back and leaned closer, like they were smelling me. The video timestamp ran 2:41, 30 a.m. 02, 41 to 20 a.m. 7 seconds. 7 seconds of them hovering over me like that. Then the figure turned their head sharply toward the camera, like they heard something outside the frame, and the screen cut to black. Was shaking so hard the phone nearly fell from my hands. I couldn't watch anymore. I backed out of the recordings page, ready to throw up, ready to scream. But there was a notification at the top of the guidebook page. It hadn't been there before. A tiny gray banner. One active viewer currently watching this page. I froze. Someone else was looking at the same camera list right now. My stomach twisted. They knew I saw everything. They knew I found the recordings. They knew exactly where I was. I shut the phone off and started the car with shaking hands. I didn't care where I drove. I just needed distance, space, air. But as I backed up, my headlights hit something behind the dumpster. A figure, standing perfectly still, facing me, wearing a white mask. I floored it. I didn't wait. Didn't blink. Didn't breathe. Just sped out of the lot so fast the tires screamed. I didn't slow down until I passed the county line. I didn't stop until I pulled into a Walmart parking lot with bright lights and security cameras everywhere. I locked the doors. Finally looked at my phone again. It buzzed instantly. A notification. My stomach dropped when I saw the sender. From host, Cozy Hilltop Cabin. Subject, we're sorry about the inconvenience. I opened it with trembling fingers. The email was short. Too short. It said, "Hi. We noticed you left without checking out. You should have listened. Get out." Was never a warning. It was a test. You failed. Please return the key. Smiley face. Still asterisk. That smiley face again. God, that damn smiley face. I threw the phone on the passenger seat, suddenly terrified it would ring, or buzz, or speak. But it didn't. Single quotes. It just lit up once more with a single final notification. A Wi-Fi network. A network I shouldn't be able to see. Not here. Not miles away. Not in a Walmart parking lot. But it popped up anyway, bold and unmistakable. Get OUT, and right underneath it. Why didn't you? I'm still here now. Sitting in my locked car, watching the networks refresh over and over and over. And every time they do. A new signal shows up. One that wasn't there before. A new Wi-Fi name. A new message directed at me. Look up. You don't want to. God, I don't want to. But something is standing outside the car. I can feel the shadow. I can feel the cold. I can feel the breath on the glass. I can feel fingers tapping. Slow, steady, patient. I'm too afraid to look. I'm too afraid to breathe. I'm too afraid to move. But I know, if I look up right now, I won't see a face, just a mask, white, blank, waiting. And I know the final Wi-Fi signal will appear. I can already feel the phone buzzing, the last message. One they've been saving, the one they typed on my laptop while I hid upstairs. The one that will finish what they started. I see you reading this. The first night was fine. That's the part one keep replaying over and over, how normal it felt when I got there. Like nothing was wrong. Like I wasn't walking into something I wouldn't be able to walk back out of. It was a last-minute solo booking. This little Airbnb on the edge of Vermont. I'd just gotten out of a long, messy breakup and needed somewhere quiet. Somewhere off the radar. It had 5 stars, a bunch of peaceful-looking photos, and one weird line in the listing that barely registered when I booked it. Basement is locked and off limits. Cool. I wasn't planning on exploring the dark underbelly of an old house in the woods anyway, but now I can't stop thinking about that door. Because when I first got there, it was locked. And now it's not. I arrived just before sunset. Leaves crunching under my boots, air sharp and cold. The key was under the mat, like the host promised. And the inside was clean, charming, even. Everything had that mismatched rustic Airbnb vibe. Ceramic mugs, vintage lamp, an aggressively beige throw blanket draped over a velvet couch. The whole place smelled like old wood and eucalyptus. I walked through the house like I always do, checking windows, doors, just making sure no one was hiding in a closet. I do that everywhere I stay. And when I got to the basement door, just off the kitchen, tucked behind a curtain, I checked the knob. It didn't budge. Deadbolt. Solid. I remember that specifically, because I even gave it an extra tug, just in case. And then I forgot about it. I made tea. I journaled. I watched an entire season of some dumb dating show on mute while music played in the background. I went to bed feeling fine. Not great, but safe. It was the last night I ever felt that. The next morning, I was brushing my teeth when I heard it. A creak, like wood shifting under weight. I paused, toothpaste foaming in my mouth, and waited. But nothing came after it. I told myself it was the house settling. That's what people say, right? Old houses make sounds. They shift and breathe like living things. But something about this creak felt different. It was purposeful. Like a step. I shook it off, finished getting ready, and decided to walk into town. Clear my head, grab breakfast, pick up a bottle of wine for the night. I was out for maybe 4 hours. And when I came back, arms full of snacks and overpriced lavender candles. I noticed it the second I walked into the kitchen. The basement door was open. Not all the way, just a few inches, just enough to show me that the darkness behind it wasn't empty. I froze. Keys still in my hand, paper bag of groceries dangling from my wrist. I stared at the gap. It looked wider than it was, like it was inviting me, or watching me. It took me a solid minute to move. When I finally stepped forward, I pushed the door slowly, heart thudding, ears ringing, and peered down into the basement. It was pitch black. No light switch at the top of the stairs. Just the wooden steps, disappearing into the dark. I shut the door, locked it again. This time I slid a chair in front of it too, just in case. I told myself the lock must have been faulty, that I thought it was deadbolted, but maybe it hadn't clicked all the way. Maybe it just slipped open. Maybe. That night, I barely slept. Every time the heater kicked on, I jumped. Every floorboard groan made my body go rigid. At one point, I thought I heard movement below me, directly under the bedroom. Like something dragging, like something breathing. I put my headphones in, played rain sounds, forced myself to stay under the covers. Eventually, I drifted off. And had a dream. I was standing at the basement door. The curtain was drawn back. The door slowly opened on its own. And something was down there, not a person. Not exactly a figure. But all I could really see were its eyes. Huge, too wide, reflective like glass, watching me, waiting. I woke up drenched in sweat, and the rain sounds had stopped. My phone was dead. It had been fully charged. When I went to bed the next morning, the Airbnb felt different, colder, quieter, like the silence was heavier somehow. I made coffee with shaky hands and decided to check the basement door again. The chair was still there. The door was still shut. I turned the knob. Still locked. I let out a breath I didn't know I was holding, but then I leaned down and looked closer at the deadbolt. It was scratched, like someone had tried to pick it. Tiny marks, fresh, thin lines across the metal, like a tool had been wedged into it. I backed away fast, tripped over the chair, spilled half my coffee. Something wasn't right. This wasn't just a faulty lock. Someone had tried to get through that door or out. I messaged the host. Hey, just wondering if anyone has access to the property while I'm here. The basement door was open when I came back yesterday. Starting to feel a little uneasy. They replied 2 hours later. Hi. Nope, no one else should be on the property. Basement stays locked at all times. That's strange. I'll flag it to maintenance. Hope you're enjoying your stay. That smiley face again. Same exact tone as every generic Airbnb host. But it didn't feel right. There was no concern. No apology. Just deflection. I left the house again. I needed to be around people. I went to a bookstore, then a diner. Pretended to be normal. But in the back of my mind, that door kept pulling at me. Like a string tied around my ribs. I couldn't stop picturing it. The dark behind it. The scratches on the lock. The eyes from my dream when I got back after sunset. The chair was knocked over, and the door? It was open again, this time. All the way. It was open. The basement door stood wide, like it had been waiting for me. No breeze, no reason. Just open. The chair I'd wedged against it was toppled sideways. Not slid. Not bumped. Knocked. I stood in the kitchen for what felt like forever. Bags still in my hand, car keys digging into my palm. I kept thinking, maybe it's just the house. Maybe it's just an old hinge. Maybe I left it unlocked. Maybe I'm being dramatic. But my gut said, no. My gut said, someone opened it, and maybe they never closed it because they're still down there. I didn't call the cops. I should have. I know that, but I didn't know what I would even say. Hi, I think someone might be in the basement of my Airbnb that I'm technically not supposed to open. I was scared they wouldn't believe me. Worse, I was scared they would, and I have to actually stand in that kitchen while someone searched the basement. Or go down with them. The thought made me physically nauseous. Instead, I did something stupid. I took a picture of the open door. Messaged the host again. Hi, the basement door is open again. I didn't touch it. The chair I put there is on the floor. Something is not right. Can you please send someone? An hour passed. No response. 2 hours. Nothing. The sun was almost gone. The shadows in the hallway stretched longer. Every time I blinked, I thought about leaving, just walking out. Getting in my car and never looking back. But a stupid part of me still wanted answers. Closure. Proof. That I wasn't imagining it. So I did something even more stupid. I opened the flashlight app on my phone and stepped to the top of the stairs. It smelled like dust and rust and something else I couldn't name. Metallic, wet, like something had been alive down there for too long. The flashlight barely cut into the dark. Just a cone of light hitting the first few steps, then swallowed by shadows. The wooden stairs creaked when I stepped on the first one. Then the second. Then the third. I told myself I'd only go halfway. Just enough to see. Just enough to prove it was empty. But the moment I hit the fourth step, the door behind me slammed shut. I spun so fast my phone flew from my hand, bouncing off the wall and tumbling down into the dark. I scrambled back up the steps, heart hammering, clawing at the door. It was locked. Dead bolted. From the outside. Impossible. There was no one there. No one upstairs. Unless there was. I banged my fists against the door. Hello? Is anyone there? Nothing. I pressed my ear against the wood, shaking. No footsteps. No voice. Just a deep, thick silence. And then Breathing not mine on my side of the door, behind me. I turned around so slowly, it felt like my bones were grinding together. The flashlight from my phone was still on, lying at the bottom of the steps, casting a crooked beam across the basement floor. And in that beam, I saw feet, bare, dirty, pale, just the toes. Just the tops. Just enough to freeze every nerve in my body. They weren't moving. Neither was we stayed like that for maybe 5 full seconds. Then the feet stepped backward. Out of the light. Back into the dark. I swallowed a scream and bolted down the stairs after my phone. I didn't care about caution anymore. I just needed light. Sound, anything. I grabbed it, spun around, and aimed the flashlight at the far wall. There was nothing there, just crumbling stone. Broken shelves. A pile of firewood. No person. No feet. But something caught my eye. The far wall part of it wasn't stone. It was plywood. Newer than everything else. Like someone had covered something up. I moved closer. That smell the metallic one got worse. Like rotten bleach. I raised my hand and knocked on the plywood. Hollow. I don't know why I did what I did next. Some combination of panic, desperation, and that stupid, awful curiosity that lives in all of us. I jammed my fingers between the wall and the frame and pulled. The wood creaked, resisted, then gave way with a sharp crack. Behind it was a room. A hidden room. Not big. Maybe 6 by 6, concrete floor. No windows. Just one light bulb hanging from the ceiling. Barely glowing. And in the middle of the room, a chair, metal, rusted, bolted to the floor, with restraints attached. My knees almost gave out. There was a mattress in the corner, thin, stained. Empty food cans stacked in the corner. A plastic bucket. A length of chain. And carved into the wall, scratched over and over, were words. The same phrase, "I heard you, I know you're up there." I backed out of the room so fast I tripped over the doorframe. Landed hard. My flashlight flickered and went out completely. That's when I heard it again. The breathing, closer this time. Not above me. In the basement. I didn't care anymore. I ran, full sprint. Slammed into the basement door and screamed, "Help! Help me, please!" I kicked, punched, slammed my shoulder into the door until I thought I'd pass out. Then a sound on the other side. Clicked. The deadbolt turning. The door creaked open a few inches. I didn't wait to see what was behind it. I shoved it open and bolted through the kitchen. Straight out the front door. Into the freezing night air. I didn't grab my keys. I didn't take anything. I just ran. A neighbor heard me screaming in the woods and called the sheriff. I couldn't stop shaking. Could barely explain what happened. When the cops got there, they searched the basement. The plywood had been nailed back in place. The secret room? Gone. No chair. No mattress. No carvings. The sheriff gave me a look like he didn't quite believe me, but also didn't want to deal with it. Said there were no signs of forced entry. Said the door probably swelled in the humidity and unlocked itself. Sighed. They'd follow up with the owner, but they didn't, because when they tried to contact the host, the listing was gone. The name, the phone number, even the payment record, all erased, like they were never real. I've had nightmares ever since. Not just of the basement, of the eyes I didn't see. The ones I felt watching me from the dark, following me up the stairs, standing over me while I slept, breathing with me. I moved across the country, got a new job, changed my phone number, blocked Airbnb completely. But sometimes, when I check for Wi-Fi networks, a name pops up, basement_door_open, just for a second. Then it disappears. Like someone's reminding me that the door was never really locked. I knew something was off the second I found the note. It was on the kitchen counter, folded in half, written in shaky handwriting on a piece of lined notebook paper. Nothing fancy, no Airbnb welcome card, no printed house rules, no local guidebook. Just the words, "You're safe upstairs. Don't go into the back room. I'm sorry." No hello. No name. No smiley face. Just that. I stared at it for way too long, expecting more. Something to explain it. I even flipped it over like maybe there'd be instructions on the back. Nothing. I should have left right then. But instead, I stood there, still holding my suitcase, still wearing my coat, and read it over and over like it would start to make sense. Because I just walked into what was supposed to be a cozy weekend Airbnb in the Berkshires. 2 nights. Solo trip. Writing, wine, peace and quiet. And I was standing in a house that felt abandoned. No host met me at the door. I was supposed to meet Richard, according to the app, but no one came out when I knocked. The lights were on. The door was unlocked. There was just the note. And silence. Not peaceful silence, the kind that feels hollow. Like the place was full of sound 5 minutes ago, and then everything inside it vanished. I called out, "Hello?" Twice. My voice sounded weird in the space. Flat, like the walls were sucking it in. No answer. I left my bag in the hallway and slowly moved through the rooms. The house was old, early 1900s maybe. Hardwood floors, lace curtains, radiator heating. It had that creaky, brittle feeling of something that hadn't been truly lived in for a while. The kitchen had a faint smell of lemon cleaner and something else underneath something. Coppery. There were still dishes in the drying rack. A cup of tea steeped in the sink, cold, half full, like someone had made it and never came back to finish. Upstairs was cleaner, warmer. The bedroom had fresh sheets, a little nightstand lamp, and a folded towel at the end of the bed. I was trying to convince myself the host just ran out for something. Maybe he forgot to text me. Maybe the note was a joke or part of a scavenger hunt thing. I don't know. People do weird stuff with these listings. But that apology at the end, "I'm sorry," that wasn't cute. That was scared. And I felt it too. This low buzz under my skin. Like the house was holding its breath, and I was the only one who didn't know why. Tried messaging the host. No response. Called the number on the listing. Straight to voicemail. I kept the bedroom light on and tried to settle in, telling myself it was all just bad communication. Bad timing. I'd laugh about it later. I even poured a glass of wine and put on music. But I kept thinking about the last part of the note. Don't go into the back room. There were 4 doors on the second floor. One led to the bedroom I was in. Another to a tiny bathroom. The third was a linen closet. And the fourth, the back room. It didn't have a normal doorknob. Just one of those old keyhole locks with a tarnished brass plate. And the weirdest part? It had a chair in front of it, like someone had tried to block it. Not effectively, just a wooden chair placed directly against the door, like an afterthought. I moved it without thinking, just to test the handle. Locked, solid. I stared at that door for longer than I care to admit. It had something carved into the wood near the keyhole. I leaned closer. Tiny letters, almost scratched in. "Don't listen to it." I stepped back like I'd been burned. Who the hell carved something like that into their guest bedroom door? Suddenly the whole house felt smaller, closer, like the walls were listening. That night, I couldn't sleep. The radiator made these irregular knocking sounds like footsteps in the pipes. And at one point, around 2 a.m., I heard something upstairs. But I was already upstairs. It was faint. A whisper maybe. Just one syllable, drawn out, like a breath turning into a sound. I sat up in bed, heart pounding so loud I could barely hear anything else. "Richard?" I called out, even though I knew it wasn't him. Silence. Then the chair moved. the one I'd left in front of the back room door. I heard it scrape. Just once. Just enough. I didn't get out of bed. I didn't move until daylight started creeping through the curtains, when I finally forced myself to check the hallway. The chair was back where I'd left it, perfectly in front of the door, but turned slightly, like someone had nudged it, just enough to remind me that they'd been there, or it had. A hint. Packed my things, tried the front door. It wouldn't open. Not stuck. Not jammed. Locked. From the outside. The front door shouldn't have been locked. Not from the outside. Not with the latch clearly turned. I jiggled the knob harder than I should have, first in panic, then in denial, until the whole frame rattled, and dust shook loose from the top molding. Nothing. I was trapped. My first thought should have been to call 911, but my brain didn't go there. Not immediately. All I could think about was the note. You're safe upstairs. Don't go into the back room. I'm sorry. Safe upstairs. The rest of the house wasn't. I backed away from the door, forcing myself to breathe. The air felt heavy, too warm, like the house itself was exhaling against my skin. I checked the windows next. One in the living room, two in the dining room, one off the kitchen, all painted shut, like they'd been sealed for years. I tried the back door. Deadbolt, chain lock, reinforced bar across the bottom, like someone was trying to keep something out. Or, in. I called the host again. Voicemail, same monotone pre-recorded message. Leave a message after the tone. IDN single quotes T. Instead, I listened. Really listened. And that's when I heard it. A faint, slow tapping coming from upstairs. Not the radiator. Not settling wood. Not imagination. Tapping. Steady, rhythmic, like fingernails on a wooden door. The back room. Every instinct screamed at me to run, but where would I go? The house was old, the kind of old where the floors betrayed you with every step, and the sound was coming from directly above the living room. Stood frozen until the tapping stopped, then a soft creak. Floorboards bending under weight. Right outside the back room door, someone was moving around up there. No. Something. I grabbed my bag, my jacket, my keys, as if any of that could help, and bolted into the kitchen. The house was too quiet. The kind of quiet that presses against your eardrums until you can hear your own heartbeat. I checked the basement door out of desperation. Unlocked. But when I pushed it, the smell hit me first. Damp earth. Old stone. A hint of mold. And underneath it, something sour, like sweat or breath. I slammed it shut. No way. I wasn't going down there. The tapping started again, louder this time, not hesitant, not faint. Impatient. My skin went cold. I could hear it through the ceiling, right above me, in the same spot, over and over. Then, a voice, barely audible, hoarse, dry. Help. My throat closed up. Once. Just once. A single whisper leaking through the floorboards. Help. Not loud. Not begging. More like a reflex, like the word had been trapped in someone's throat for days. I backed up until my spine hit the refrigerator. No, I whispered. No. The voice came again, closer. Please. And then I understood. It wasn't calling to me. It was repeating something. A phrase, like an echo, like a recording, a loop. Please. Help. Not a request. A mimic. My phone buzzed so violently, it nearly fell from my hand. Unknown number. Local area code. Against every instinct, I answered. Hello? I expected breathing, static, something awful. But instead, a whisper, not from the phone. Speaker. From somewhere inside the house. My name. It said my name, whispered like someone leaning inches from my ear. I dropped the phone. It clattered on the tile. The call didn't disconnect. It just kept going. A faint hum coming from the speaker, like an open line to nothing or to something. The tapping stopped. Then the floor above me groaned. Weight shifting. Slow steps. Heading down the hall, toward the stairs. I grabbed the nearest thing I could use as a weapon, a cast iron skillet, and ran into the living room. Heart pounding so hard it felt like it might crack a rib. I positioned myself behind the armchair. Eyes locked on the staircase. The first step creaked, then the second. Then a hand slid into view, pale, long fingers. Nails torn and dirty, as if they'd been clawing at something. My pulse thrashed. Another step. Tightened my grip on the skillet so hard my fingers cramped. And then the hand retreated. Slowly. As if the thing attached to it had changed its mind, or lost interest. A moment later, the footsteps moved back down the hall, toward the back room. A soft scrape. Then a click. The door closing. I didn't move for a full minute. Then I forced myself up the stairs, gripping the railing so hard it left dents in my palm. The hallway was dim, lit only by a small nightlight someone had plugged into the wall. The door to the back room looked normal again. Closed. Chair pressed up against it like nothing had moved, but the air was wrong, humid, like someone had been breathing against the wood. I leaned close, listening. Nothing. I slid the chair away. My pulse felt like static under my skin. I pressed my ear to the door. Still nothing. So I held my breath and turned the keyhole. It click. Unlock. I pushed the door open, and inch. 2. 3. And every hair on my body rose because the room wasn't empty. It wasn't even a room. It was a narrow hallway, a makeshift space built from plywood and plastic sheeting. A single bulb hung from a cord overhead, flickering as dust swirled in the air. On the floor, directly in the center, was a notebook. Same torn pages as the welcome note. I stepped inside. The door drifted shut behind me. My fingers trembled as I picked up the notebook. The first page had writing. Messy, rushed. The handwriting I'd seen downstairs. If you're reading this, it means I didn't make it out. I swallowed hard and kept reading. Whatever you hear in this house, whatever talks to you, it is not human. I felt my pulse in my teeth. It copies voices. It copies footsteps. It learns you. The bulb above me buzzed, flickered. The next line was carved into the page so hard it tore through. Don't answer it. My throat tightened. And below that, if it knows your name, it won't stop. I stopped breathing, stopped thinking, stopped existing for a full second. Because right behind me, inches behind me, a voice whispered, "Can I come out now?" My knees almost buckled. I didn't turn around. COULDN, single quotes T. The voice came again, this time lower, stretched, like it was pulling my name apart syllable by syllable. "Let me out." The notebook slipped from my hands. I bolted. I didn't think. I didn't look. I ran down the hall, down the stairs, into the kitchen, grabbed the heaviest chair I could find and smashed it against the front door until wood splintered. I crawled through the crack first, not even caring if it cut me, then squeezed the rest of my body through and tumbled onto the porch. Gasping, I didn't stop running until I reached the main road. A car finally stopped. Called police. The deputy checked the house. No one inside, he'd said. No signs of forced entry. No note, no back room. No host registered at this address. They didn't believe me. They thought I imagined it, but they didn't hear my name whispered from the second floor as we left. They didn't hear the tapping that started again as the cruiser pulled away. They didn't see my phone light up with a notification for a nearby Bluetooth device. Chard's phone in range. And they didn't hear the last voicemail I received later that night. A voice. My voice, whispering, Let me out. The guest book was the only thing that wasn't covered in dust. It sat perfectly centered on the coffee table, leather-bound, with a pen tucked neatly in the crease. The rest of the cabin looked like no one had stayed there in months, maybe years. Cobwebs in the corners, stale air, that weird smell old wood gets when it hasn't been touched in a while. But the guest book? Pristine, like someone had just left it there this morning. I'd booked the place on impulse. It was off-grid, way up in the Catskills, exactly the kind of isolation I thought I needed after the year I'd had. The photos online were all washed in warm sunset light. Cozy furniture, a fireplace, a little porch overlooking the woods. It looked peaceful, and I needed peace. So I booked it. 3 nights, alone, no Wi-Fi, no neighbors, no signal. Just me, my books, and a fully stocked bar of panic-bought snacks. The host's listing had been vague. No personal details. No house rules, really just a short note in the confirmation email. Please read the guest book. That was it. I noticed it about an hour after I arrived. I just unpacked and was starting to feel like maybe this was a good idea after all. There was a soft breeze coming through the window. I could hear birds. I actually felt myself start to unwind for the first time in weeks. Then I sat down on the couch. Saw the book and read the first entry. October 9th, 1987. Arrived late. Cold night. Heard someone walking around upstairs, but the host said it was just the old pipes. Beautiful view of the woods in the morning. Left early. Clarity. I frowned. The handwriting was neat, a little slanted. But what threw me off wasn't the content. It was the date. 1987. I flipped to the next page. October 12th, 1987. Didn't sleep. Woke up to the sound of something breathing outside the window. Didn't see anyone. Going to try and leave early. JT. Another 80s date. Different handwriting. Then the next page. And the next. Each entry dated days or weeks apart. All from the same year. Dozens of them. Some short and strange. She called to me from the woods. I didn't answer. Some more frantic. The lights don't work at night. Bring your own candles. Don't look in the mirror after dark. I made that mistake once. And then, one that made my blood run cold. If you're reading this, it means you've ignored the signs. Like we all did. Like I did. It's too late now. There was no name signed. Just a single handprint, faint and smudged in black ink. I slammed the book shut, told myself it was some kind of creative gimmick. Maybe the host was a writer trying to set a spooky tone. Airbnb creepcore. Very on brand for Halloween season. Still, I checked the calendar on my phone. Obviously. I opened the book again and flipped to the back, expecting blank pages. But there were more entries. Dozens. Hundreds. Maybe. All dated between 1987 and now. All from different handwriting. Different people. Every entry felt heavier than the last. And the further in I read, the more desperate the messages became. April 3rd, 1996. I only booked 1 night. I thought that would keep me safe. I was wrong. It doesn't care how long you stay. Once you're inside, it remembers you. Trevor. June 15, 2001. I burned sage. I prayed. It mocked me. Anonymous. September 7, 2018. It's under the floorboards. You'll hear it breathing when the wind stops. October 13th, 2022. She sings to me when I sleep. Her song is made of teeth. March 20th, 2024. I told the host. He said I wasn't the first. He stopped answering after that. I had to stop reading. I closed the book, shoved it off the table, and stepped outside. The air was colder than before. The woods didn't feel peaceful anymore. They felt watchful. I walked the perimeter of the cabin just to move, just to feel like I had control over something. And that's when I noticed something strange. There was no power line, no satellite dish, no generator, just a chimney, a single light bulb in the entryway. And that guest book. I checked my phone again. Still no signal. Still no GPS. Just the battery percentage dropping faster than it should have. I decided I'd leave in the morning, that night. I couldn't sleep. Not because of noise, but because of the lack of it. The woods were silent. No wind, no bugs, no rustling branches. Just absolute stillness. I laid awake, staring at the ceiling, waiting for something I couldn't name. Around 3:15 a.m. the silence broke. A soft sound, like paper turning. Downstairs. I sat up. The guest book. I stayed frozen for a long time. Then I heard it again. Rustle, scratch. Like a pen against paper. Someone. Writing. I grabbed my flashlight, moved slow down the stairs, every step threatening to creak beneath me. The living room was empty. But the guest book? Open. Face up. Pen across the page. The ink was still wet. I stepped closer. There, in shaky handwriting, was today's date, October 27th, 2025. She came in through the fireplace. Don't let her finish the song. No name, but the ink trailed off like the person had been pulled away mid-sentence, like they never finished writing it. I didn't sleep after that. I stayed on the couch, flashlight gripped in my fist, eyes locked on the guest book sitting open on the coffee table. The last entry kept staring back at me. October 27th, 2025. She came in through the fireplace. Don't let her finish the song. The ink was still slightly smudged from where my hand brushed it, but I hadn't written it, and I was the only person in that house, right? At some point I got brave or stupid and flipped through the pages again. This time I noticed something I hadn't seen before, a pattern. Every few pages, someone mentioned the song. Most brushed over it like it was a dream. Some just hinted, she hums at 3 a.m. Don't answer when she sings. You'll want to hum along. Don't. But others were clearer, more frantic. One entry from 2016 read, it starts as a lullaby, but it's not for you. It's for her. She sings to remember your name. Another one, written in shaky block letters, if you hear her voice, it means she's almost inside. That was when I realized I could hear something, not words. Not a full melody, just a tune. A soft, distant hum, like someone singing to themselves in another room. But there were no other rooms. The hum seemed to bleed through the walls. Turned off my flashlight to listen more closely. I don't know why. Some awful instinct, like I needed to hear it clearly. Big mistake, because the moment the light went out, the humming stopped and a whisper took its place, right next to me. Write it down. I dropped the flashlight. The beam rolled across the hardwood floor and landed on the fireplace. And for the first time, I saw it. The ashes, they weren't cold. They were glowing, faint, like dying embers. Like something had just pulled itself through them and disappeared into the shadows. I grabbed my bag, yanked the front door still locked, and sprinted to the kitchen window. Painted shut. Just like the others. That's when I heard the pages turning. Fast this time. Flipping one after another, like a hand was rifling through the guest book. Looking for something. Or someone. I turned back. Slowly, the book had landed open again, but not to the last page. To mine. A new entry was being written. Ink dragging across the paper, slowly forming letters right in front of me. My legs locked. I couldn't move. The pen floated, twitching in the air, as words spelled themselves out. He's still here. She hasn't finished with him. My vision blurred. It was talking about someone else. Another guest? The host? My heart skipped. Richard. I flipped back through the book, scanning frantically for that name, and found it. Scattered across multiple years. Like he kept returning, or never left. One entry from 1994. R said he can still hear her. He won't leave. Says she sings his name now. Another from 2003. I found Richard in the attic. Or what's left of him. The attic. There hadn't been any stairs to one, but something deep in my gut told me there was an attic, and I was about to find it. I moved through the cabin, using my phone flashlight now, sweeping it across the ceiling until I saw it. A square cutout. Barely visible. No ladder. No rope, but the outline was there. I dragged a chair under it, climbed up and pushed. It gave way with a soft pop, and the hatch opened into darkness. The air that came out was wrong. Too dry, too cold. And it smelled like burnt paper and something sweeter like rotting flowers. I lifted myself up. The attic was small. Low ceiling. Covered in insulation dust. And at the far end, a figure. For one horrifying second, I thought it was a person, but it wasn't. It was a mirror, tall, covered in a dirty white sheet, propped against the wall like someone had left it there in a hurry. I felt drawn to it. I stepped closer. My foot crunched on something. Paper. I looked down. Pages. Torn from the guest book. Scattered everywhere. All covered in the same sentence, over and over. She's in the glass. I reached out, hands shaking, pulled the sheet off the mirror, and stared. It was me. Of course, just my reflection. But the room behind me was empty. No chair. No pages. No attic. Just endless blackness. And in the corner of the mirror, a pages. No attic. Just endless blackness. And in the corner of the mirror, a Tanzania woman. Standing behind me. I spun around. No one. I looked back. She was closer now, long hair. Eyes hollow, mouth slightly open. As if still mid-song, I dropped the sheet, covering the mirror, and bolted back down. But when I landed in the living room, the guest book was gone. Only the pen remained, spinning slowly in place. Then it stopped, pointing toward the fireplace, where the embers had begun glowing again. Brighter. And I heard it clearly now. Song. Low, sad, like a mother humming to a child long dead. And then my name. Sung like a lullaby. Twice. Then a whisper behind me, like breath on my neck. Write it down. I grabbed the pen without thinking and opened the nearest book I could find. A notebook from my bag. My hand moved on its own. Started writing. Page after page, what I'd seen, what I'd heard, every second of it. And the more I wrote, the quieter the voice became. Until it was gone. I woke up hours later, slumped over the notebook. Sunlight was pouring in through the windows. I ran outside. The door opened easily. No resistance. No lock. My car was right where I left it. Phone signal. Full bars. I drove away without packing. Didn't stop until I reached a town 2 hours away. I went to a diner and opened my notebook to show someone. But the pages were all blank. Every single one. The only thing written was on the very first page. You escaped. For now. But someone else must write it down. I looked up the listing that night. Gone. The cabin didn't even exist on the map anymore. But sometimes late at night, when I can't sleep, I'll check random Airbnb listings in remote areas. And when I scroll to the bottom of the photos, I sometimes see it. That same GUESTB OK got sitting on the coffee table. Waiting. I should have canceled the moment I read the house rules. There was the usual stuff. No smoking. No parties. No pets. Then one line all alone, in bold. Do not open the bedroom closet. Seriously. Not even a please. Just that. I even laughed when I saw it. Sent a screenshot to my group chat with a skull emoji. If I disappear, it's this closet's fault. LO. I wish I could go back and punch myself in the mouth. The Airbnb was a cheap overnight spot while I drove across the country. Just a layover between cities, nothing more. One night in a tiny desert town where everything closed by 6 p.m. and the gas station also sold pizza. The house itself was normal enough. A little run down but clean. Beige carpet, fake plants, a painting of a bowl of fruit above the TV. The kind of place you forget 10 minutes after you leave, except for the bedroom. Or, more specifically, the closet in the bedroom. It was the first thing I noticed when I walked in. Not because it looked weird, just because it was so normal. White folding doors, plastic handle, no lock, no sign of anything wrong. Except now I couldn't stop thinking about it. The more I tried to ignore it, the more it pulled at me. I dropped my bag on the bed and forced myself to settle in. I was tired. I'd driven 9 hours that day, and all I wanted was sleep. I took a long shower, made a grilled cheese, and watched garbage TV on low volume until my eyes got heavy. Still, every few minutes, I glanced toward the hallway. That room was just there, waiting. And the more I thought about that line in the house rules, do not open the bedroom closet, seriously, the more I wondered what kind of host writes something like that. Joke? Inside prank? Or a warning? I finally went to bed around 1 a.m. The room was colder than the rest of the house, and no matter how many times I adjusted the blinds, I could still see the closet doors in the mirror on the opposite wall. They were closed, tightly closed. I told myself to stop being dramatic. Closet paranoia is practically a childhood rite of passage. I wrapped myself in the blanket and rolled over. Then I heard it. Just one, sharp like a fingernail, coming from inside the closet. I sat up immediately. Heart racing, breath held. Silence. I stared at the closet door like it might move, like something behind it was standing still now because I was 10 seconds. 20. Nothing. I tried to laugh. Didn't work. Old house, cheap walls, I whispered to myself, even though that didn't explain why it sounded like a single tap. Not pipes, not settling wood. A tap. I got up. Didn't turn the light on. Just stood there, watching the closet from across the room. Then I took 3 slow steps forward. The closer I got, the colder it felt. Not air conditioning cold. Not breeze from under the door cold. Absence of body heat. Cold. Like the air around it was dead. I put my hand on the door, not to open it, just to feel. And the second my fingers touched the surface, something tapped back directly behind the door. Once, twice, 3 times, like it had waited for me. I jumped back so fast I knocked over the lamp. The crash lit up the whole room, and I scrambled for the switch like I was being chased. The light came on. The room was empty. The closet doors hadn't moved. I didn't sleep. Not really. I laid under the blanket, lights on, eyes half closed, ears hyper-focused on every creak and shift the house made. At one point, I thought I heard breathing, not mine. Not steady, like it was holding its breath. 2. I never opened the closet, but I swear, I could feel it watching me. In the morning, I packed up fast. Left the bed unmade. Didn't shower. Just grabbed my things and bolted. But before I left, I stood in the doorway of the bedroom one last time and stared at the closet. There was a piece of paper on the floor, folded once. It hadn't been there last night. I stepped in slowly, grabbed it, and unfolded the note. One line. Thank you for not opening it. No punctuation. No signature. Just that. I left without locking the door. Didn't look back. And that should have been the end. Except when I stopped at a diner an hour down the road. My phone buzzed with a new Airbnb message from the host. It said, "Hi. Just confirming you checked out okay. Also, if you did open the closet, please let us know immediately." I stared at the message for a long time. Then I replied, "I didn't, but something was in there." No response, but a minute later, I got a notification. New review, quiet guest. Followed the rules. We'll be boarding the door up again. Part 2. I made it halfway across Arizona before I realized something was wrong. At first, I thought I was just shaken up from the night before. But it wasn't that. This was different. It was subtle, barely there, but I felt it. Like someone was watching me in the rearview mirror, like I wasn't alone in the car. I stopped at a gas station just outside Flagstaff, pulled into the lot, and sat for a minute, palms sweaty on the wheel. Heart pounding like I just outrun something. Told myself it was nothing. Then I opened the back door just to check, and I swear, I felt it again. A cold draft brushing past my legs. That same still dead air I felt in the Airbnb bedroom. Like something was sitting in the back seat. But didn't want to be seen. There was nothing there. Of course there wasn't. But the feeling never left. That night, I checked into a regular hotel. Bright lobby, fresh towels, staff that smiled too much, but I couldn't sleep. Every time I shut my eyes, I saw that closet door. Heard the tapping, felt the air change. At 3:08 a.m. I sat bolt upright in bed because I heard something in the corner of the room, just a shuffle, a breath. But when I turned on the light, nothing was there. Except the closet. Closed. Just like the one in the Airbnb. Same shape, same white folding doors. Except I knew this one had been open when I checked in. I didn't touch it, didn't even cross the room, just sat in bed with the TV on mute and the lamp buzzing beside me until the sun came up. Next morning, I called the front desk and asked for a room with no closet. The woman on the phone laughed, thought I was joking. I hung up without explaining. Didn't have an explanation, only a feeling something had followed me over the next few days. Things got worse. I stopped at a thrift store in Utah to buy a flannel. When I stepped into the dressing room, I heard the door creak behind me. It didn't close. It latched. I spun around, heart racing. Nothing there. But in the mirror, I saw the curtain behind me shift. Just slightly, like it was breathing. In Colorado, I stayed with a friend for a night. Told her I was just passing through, needed a break from hotels. She gave me the guest room. At 2:46 a.m. I woke up to the sound of a knock. Not the door, the closet. I sat there in the dark, every part of me frozen. Then came another knock. Louder. 2 seconds later, I got a text from an unknown number. You brought it with you. I showed my friend the next morning. She laughed it off, said I was just tired. But that afternoon, she texted me while I was out getting coffee. Did you go into the guest room closet? Smelled weird in there. And the door was cracked. I hadn't touched it. I hadn't gone near it. I left that night. Didn't say goodbye. Didn't explain. I just drove. But by then, I understood something I didn't want to admit. The thing in the Airbnb closet. I didn't avoid it. I opened it. Not physically. Not with my hands, but with my attention. With my fear. With that moment I touched the door, and it tapped back. It had waited for me to notice it. And that's all it needed. I tried booking therapy. Tried sleeping with all the lights on. I even bought sage and burned it like some Reddit thread suggested. But none of it mattered. Because it wasn't in the room anymore. It was in me. It started showing up in photos. First. Background stuff. Blurry shadows in mirrors, behind trees, in the reflection of car windows. Too distorted to prove anything. But I saw it. Always the same shape. Too tall. No face, fingers sometimes. Long and pale, like it was always just stepping out of the closet. But never all the way. Then it started tapping again, not just at night, during Zoom meetings. In the back of my headphones. Once, in the middle of a grocery store. I passed a stockroom door and heard 3 sharp taps from the other side. Like it recognized me. Like it knew I was listening. I tried deleting my Airbnb account. Didn't work. Every time I logged in to close it, the same listing popped up, even though I couldn't find it by search. Desert house, 1 bedroom, Follow the rules, the preview photo. Just the bedroom and the closet. Accept now. The door was open. The listing had new reviews. I clicked. There were only 2. Guest A. I should have listened. Guest B. It doesn't need the closet anymore. The last time I slept through the night was 6 weeks ago. I dreamed I was back in the bedroom, sitting on the floor, facing the closet. The door was open just an inch. I couldn't move, and from the dark inside, something whispered, "Let me be your home." I woke up crying. Since then, it's gotten worse. The closet isn't in the room anymore. It's everywhere. I'll be driving and see a utility door on the side of the road, slightly ajar. I'll be walking through a parking garage and hear something shuffle behind a storage panel. And always, that same cold air, that sense that space isn't fixed anymore. That inside and outside don't matter. It's near. And the worst part? I can feel it waiting. Last night, I got a text. No number. Just ready to open it again. Attached was a photo of my bedroom. My real bedroom. Lights off. Taken from inside my closet. I didn't realize anything was wrong until the second night, which is what still haunts me. That I lived a full 24 hours in that house, thinking everything was fine. It was supposed to be a quiet getaway. Just me, a few books, and a solo weekend to reset after a rough breakup. The Airbnb listing was perfect, an old Victorian cottage near the coast. All wood floors and antique furniture, tons of natural light. Even the host seemed sweet over message. Her name was Julia. She'd left a welcome note in floral handwriting, and a little basket of snacks on the kitchen counter. I remember thinking, I'm gonna be okay. But that was before the mirror, before the reflection, before I realized I wasn't alone in that house. The first day was uneventful. I settled in, made a grocery run, and did nothing all afternoon. No social media, no emails. I just lay on the old velvet couch, letting the silence stretch and settle around me like a warm blanket. The house had a strange charm. A little crooked, like it had been rearranged and fixed a dozen times, but never all the way. The floors creaked under every step. The stairs tilted slightly to one side. The wallpaper peeled in one corner of the hallway, but it was peaceful. Real. Until that night, I brushed my teeth with the door open, music playing from my phone on the sink. That bathroom was beautiful. Clawfoot tub, tile floors, a heavy, ornate mirror hanging above the sink. I remember glancing up mid-rinse and frowning, because the mirror looked off. Not broken, not smudged, but the angle felt wrong. The way it caught the light. I adjusted my stance, leaned slightly, tried to center my reflection. And for a split second, it lagged. Not like a glitch, not like tech, more like my reflection was delayed. Just half a second too slow. I blinked. My reflection blinked, but it was out of sync, just long enough to make me step back like I'd been burned. Then it was normal again, perfectly in sync. No delay, no problem. I told myself I was just tired. I'd barely slept the night before. Too much caffeine, too many racing thoughts. I went to bed, turned on a sleep podcast, and tried not to think about it. By morning, I'd convinced myself I'd imagined it. I even laughed it off. Did a little mirror test after breakfast, waved my hand, jumped up and down, even pulled faces. Everything matched. Everything was fine. But something in me stayed on edge, like the house knew. I'd noticed. The second night is when everything changed. It started around 1:30 a.m. I was in bed, lights off, half asleep, when I heard something move in the hallway. A soft shuffle, like someone sliding across the floor barefoot. I froze. Didn't breathe. There it was again. Closer. I grabbed my phone and turned on the flashlight, heart hammering in my chest, and crept toward the door, opened it slowly. Nothing in the hall. But the bathroom light was on. I know I turned it off. I always do. It's a habit. I stepped toward the bathroom, and the moment I crossed the threshold, I felt it, that sharp shift in temperature. The cold hit me like I'd walked into a freezer, and the mirror god. The mirror. My reflection was still there, but something was wrong. It stood the same way I stood, moved the same way. But the expression on its face wasn't mine. It looked hollow, like it was trying to copy me and getting it just slightly wrong. I turned my head slowly to the left. So did it. But the smile, that faint, uncanny smile on its face, stayed frozen. It didn't belong on me. Not in that moment. Not with how terrified I felt. I backed out of the room and shut the bathroom door. Sat on the hallway floor with my hands shaking. Every instinct told me to leave, to run. But where would I go at 2 in the morning in a town I didn't know? Instead, I slept with the lights on. The next morning, the mirror was fine again. I checked it 6 different times. Straight on, side angle, close up. Nothing weird. Just me. But that feeling stayed with me, like something was watching me through the glass, like my reflection wasn't just a reflection anymore. I messaged the host. Hey, sorry to bother you. Is there anything weird about the bathroom mirror? It might sound dumb, but I had a strange experience last night. Julia replied 5 minutes later. Hi. Not dumb at all. Honestly, I've heard that before. Some guests say it gives them the creeps too. It's old. Been in the house since forever. I can move it if you'd like. That should have calmed me down, but it didn't, because I read her message again and kept thinking. Some guests say it gives them the creeps too. So it wasn't just me. That night, I closed the bathroom door and dragged the hallway chair in front of it. Not exactly high-tech security, but it made me feel like I had some control. I even joked aloud, stay in your lane, mirror lady, trying to break the tension. It didn't help, because at 3:07 a.m., I woke up to a loud bang. The chair had been shoved across the hallway. The bathroom door was wide open, and the light was on. I didn't move. I just sat up in bed, blankets pulled to my chin, staring into the hallway. And in the reflection of the mirror, barely visible from where I sat, I could see someone standing behind me. Not moving, not breathing, just watching. I couldn't move. I sat there in bed, staring down the hallway, frozen in this perfect, breathless terror. The mirror was maybe 15 feet away, but I could still see it from where I sat. Still see my reflection, only it wasn't me. I wasn't sitting. I was standing. In the mirror, I was standing behind myself. Still, upright, watching. My real body stayed locked in place. But in the reflection, my other self tilted her head, just slightly. Enough to let me know she wasn't mimicking anymore. She was choosing to move. I shut my eyes. Tight. Like a kid. Like somehow, if I didn't see her, she couldn't see me. I counted to 10. Opened them again. The hallway was empty. The light was off. The bathroom door closed. The chair still shoved to the side, like it had all reset. But I knew better. I knew what I'd seen. I sat up slowly and flicked on the lamp. The warm light felt fake, like it couldn't reach whatever part of the house she lived in. Still, I waited until morning before I moved. At 8:30 a.m., I called the host. Julia picked up after 2 rings. Her voice was chipper, overly casual, too cheerful for how pale I sounded. I told her what happened. I didn't leave anything out. The mirror, the reflection, the figure behind me, everything. There was a pause when I finished. Not long, but long enough. Then she said, "You're not the first to say that. That's why I usually don't rent to solo guests anymore." "Excuse me?" I said. She sighed. "I probably should have taken it down. I keep saying I'll remove that mirror. I just don't like touching it." That line stuck with me. I don't like touching it. She offered to refund the stay. Said I could leave whenever I wanted, but she never once said it wasn't real. Never once said I imagined it. That silence told me. More than anything else could. I packed my stuff and left within the hour, but I didn't go straight home because something was bothering me, something I hadn't noticed until I looked at the photos from the listing. Again, there was no mirror in them. In any of the pictures. The bathroom was shown, the same sink, the same tile, the same tub. But where the mirror should have been, just a blank wall. At first, I thought maybe it was an old photo. Maybe the mirror was added later, but then I did something I shouldn't have. I reverse searched the photos. And found the exact same set listed under another Airbnb account. Different name, different location. Same house, same layout, same bathroom. But in that listing, there was a mirror, except the reflection wasn't the same. In the photo, the mirror showed a woman standing in the hallway, half shadowed, too far to make out clearly. It wasn't the host or the photographer, and it wasn't me, but something about her posture made my skin crawl, like she was leaning forward, watching, smiling just a little too wide. I closed the laptop and swore I wouldn't look again. I'd left. I was safe. Except I wasn't. That night, at home, hours away, completely out of the town, I noticed something strange while brushing my teeth. The mirror fogged up like usual. Except there were handprints in the steam. 2 of them, side by side. But from the inside, I wiped the glass. Nothing behind me. But when I stepped away, the handprints stayed, just faintly, like fingerprints on cold breath. From then on, the reflection got worse. It started with small things. My reflection blinking too slow or too fast. Not at all. Sometimes it would smile before I did, or turn its head just a second early. One night I reached for my toothbrush, and in the mirror, my reflection's hand never moved. It just watched me. I was walking past a dark office window downtown when I caught my reflection, except it wasn't me. Same clothes, same stance, but her face, it was blank, like someone had erased the features and left only the shape. I looked back at the window, heart racing. Gone. Just normal glass, normal reflection. But from then on, I started seeing her everywhere. In elevator doors. In phone screens, dark puddles, even the blank eyes of mannequins. Always slightly off. Always facing me, even when I wasn't looking directly at her. And sometimes, when I got close enough, she moved. A month passed like this. I stopped sleeping properly, stopped leaving my apartment, started hearing things behind doors I knew were shut. Once, I heard my own voice whisper my name from inside the bathroom. That same tone, same pitch. Just empty, like something was wearing my voice like a coat. I started recording myself. Videos, clips, talking to the camera, asking myself questions, describing what I'd done that day. I'd play them back and analyze every movement, every blink. Most of the time it was fine, but once, I swear I caught her smile in the playback before I did. And when I paused the video, her eyes were looking past the camera. At something behind me. I don't know how much longer I have. Not before I die. That'd be easier. But before she takes over completely. Because it's not just reflections anymore. It's me. Yesterday I found a photo on my phone. One I didn't take. It was my apartment, dark, from the corner of the room. I was sitting on the floor. Only I wasn't looking at the camera. I was looking at the mirror, which shouldn't be possible, because I had that mirror covered. I still do. But in the photo, no sheet, just glass. In her, smiling at me from the reflection, I started seeing gaps in my day. Hours missing. Once, I looked down at my hands and saw dried blood on 2 of my fingers. No cut, no wound, just blood. Like I'd touched something I shouldn't have. There are sticky notes on my fridge I don't remember writing. One says, "Don't listen when she sounds like you." Another one, taped to my bathroom door, "If you hear your voice inside, do not answer." But the worst one? The one I found stuck inside my pillowcase? She's already answered for you. I haven't seen myself in days. Every mirror, screen, and reflection is covered or gone. But I hear her anyway. In my sleep. In my bones, she hums now. The same way she did in that house. That song, no real melody, just breath shaped like sound. And I catch myself humming it back sometimes. Without meaning to, without knowing. And when I do, I feel her smile. 2 nights ago I tried staying at a hotel. Far from home. Different city. Generic room. Clean. Sterile. I kept all the lights on. I didn't sleep. But at 2:17 a.m., the wall-length mirror across from the bed cracked. No impact. No noise. No reason. Just a thin line forming down the middle. Like pressure building from the inside. And then, across the surface, a fingerprint. Dragging down the glass. Mine. But reversed. Like someone on the other side was pressing out. I left before dawn. Went back home. Didn't know where else to go. But when I walked through my front door, every mirror I'd covered, uncovered, sheets on the floor, blankets peeled away, even the phone screen lit up, selfie cam turned on, pointed at me, only I wasn't in frame, just the room behind me, empty. Until I blinked, and she blinked back. I smashed the phone, smashed the mirrors, threw everything reflective in the trash. But now she comes without them. I'll turn a corner and see myself already there. I'll speak and hear my own voice overlapping mine by a fraction of a second. I'll reach for something and feel another hand reach at the same time. Sometimes it's just a flicker, a glitch, but sometimes I feel her fully there, wearing me like a costume, moving for me. Thinking instead of me. And this morning, I woke up on the floor, knees scraped, mouth dry. My voice felt wrong, tired, hollow. I walked to the bathroom, forgetting, just for a second, and saw something in the mirror I'll never forget. She was brushing her hair. My hair, casually, softly, like it was hers now, and when she looked up, she didn't copy me. She didn't mimic or reflect. She just stared, like I was the shadow now. That's when I knew. This isn't a haunting. It's a replacement. She isn't trying to scare me. She's trying to be a me. Piece by piece. Step by step. Every fear I feed her makes her more real. And I think I let her in the second I noticed her. That moment in the Airbnb when I reached for the mirror and the reflection lagged. That was her first step forward. Everything since then has just been her moving in. So I'm doing the only thing I can think of, writing this, getting it out of me. Because if she's going to take my body, my voice, my mind, I want to leave behind one thing that's still mine. One thing she didn't rewrite. If you're reading this and you're thinking it's just a story, that you're safe because you don't believe, good. Keep it that way. Do not look for her. Don't check the mirror too long. Don't tilt your head just to see if your reflection matches. Because if it doesn't, if it delays even for a second, she sees you, she knows your face, and she's been waiting for a new one. It took me 2 days to realize I wasn't alone in the cabin. The whole reason I booked it was because it was supposed to be isolated. Total privacy. That was the selling point. The listing promised deep woods tranquility and no nearby neighbors for miles. I'd been burned out after months of nonstop deadlines, and my social battery was fried. I just wanted one weekend where no one could talk to me. No co-workers. No phone calls. No traffic. And at first, that's exactly what it was. Peaceful, quiet, just trees, wind, birds, and the soft creak of the porch swing whenever I stepped outside for coffee. But then I found the toothbrush. It was on the bathroom counter. Not mine. Old, frayed, wet, Had unpacked everything the night I got there. I remembered placing my toothbrush in the glass holder next to the sink. Just one, but the next morning there were two, one brand new. One used dot, the bristles were warped and splayed. Like it had been chewed on. For a second, I thought maybe the host had left it accidentally, but that didn't make sense. The place had been spotless. Fridge empty. Towels stacked perfectly. Nothing about the cabin felt lived in, except that toothbrush. I messaged the host. "Hey, weird question. Do you live nearby? Or has anyone else stayed here recently?" He replied about an hour later. "Hey there. Nope, I live out of state. You're our first guest in a few weeks. Is everything okay?" I stared at the message, then at the toothbrush, then back at the message. I told him everything was fine, because what else could I say? That night I double-checked all the doors and windows before bed. I locked everything, drew the blinds, left a few lights on, which I never do. I even placed a coffee mug on the doorknob to the bedroom, just in case. I told myself I was being dramatic, that maybe I'd missed the toothbrush on the first night, that it had just seemed wet. But at 3:28 a.m., I woke up suddenly. No noise. No dream. Just that gut feeling. I sat up in the dark, heart pounding for no reason I could name. The mug on the doorknob hadn't moved. Everything looked untouched, but the silence felt wrong, like the cabin was listening to me. In the morning, I found footprints on the porch. Bare feet. Just a few leading from the edge of the woods toward the front door, and none going back. I wanted to believe they were mine. I really did. But the shape was wrong, too wide. Toes too long. Like someone had been walking slowly in the cold mud and didn't care, or didn't feel it. I left the gay porch light on that night. Didn't even pretend I was fine anymore. I dragged a chair under the front doorknob, pulled the blinds tight, and shoved a broom through the handles of the sliding glass door out back. I even propped a pan on top of the doorknob. MacGyver-level booby traps. I kept telling myself, if it's a person, I'll hear them. If it's an animal, it won't get in. If it's nothing, then I'll feel stupid and safe. But I couldn't shake the feeling, like I was being watched from the inside. Sometime after midnight, I heard the floor creak downstairs. One single step, then nothing. I laid there for maybe half an hour. Body locked in place, eyes on the bedroom door. Finally, I grabbed the flashlight from the nightstand, turned it on, and crept out into the hallway. Nothing downstairs. No one hiding in the closet. No one behind the curtains. Everything exactly where I left it. Except the toothbrush was gone. I wish I could say I left then, that I packed up, got in the car, and peeled out of there. But I didn't, because I wanted to see. I needed to know. So I set up my laptop in the kitchen with the webcam facing the living room. Hit record. Left the lights on. And went to bed. I didn't expect to catch anything. I was wrong. The next morning, I played the video back. Hours of nothing. Then around 2:43 a.m. movement. From the hallway, someone, something, stepped into frame. Barefoot. Hair covering the face. Wearing my clothes. My hoodie. My socks, moving in that same too slow, almost curious way. They stood in the center of the room, back to the camera, and didn't move for 8 full minutes. Just stood there. Then they turned their head, just slightly, like they were listening, and walked out of frame. I don't remember anything after that. I slammed the laptop shut, puked into the kitchen sink, punched the wall so hard I split my knuckle open. I've never felt fear like that. It wasn't just that someone was in the house. It was how close they got. How comfortable they were. Like it wasn't their first time, like I wasn't the one staying in their house. I called the host again. This time I didn't text. No answer. Tried twice. Straight to voicemail. I thought about calling the cops, but what would I even say? I had no proof, no name, and the only footage I had might as well have been a ghost. I didn't know what I was dealing with. Stalker? Squatter? Something worse? I made one last decision before I left the cabin. I went into the attic. The hatch was in the hallway ceiling. I hadn't noticed it before. There was no ladder, just a wooden panel and a thin metal hook. I dragged a chair under it, pushed it open with the broom handle, and pulled myself up. It was dark, stale, reeked of old insulation and wood rot. Swept my flashlight across the space and saw a blanket nest in the corner, rags, empty water bottles, half-eaten snack wrappers, my snacks, and a Polaroid. It was a picture of me, sleeping. Same hoodie I wore the night before. The camera flash must have been off. I was under the blankets, mouth slightly open, face turned toward the window, and in the edge of the frame, a hand holding the camera, whoever took it, was standing right next to the bed. I dropped the Polaroid. It slid off my hand and landed face down in the dust. And I swear the sound echoed like someone clapped right next to my ear. My chest tightened. My throat closed up. Every instinct in my body screamed at me to get out of that attic, out of that house, out of those woods. But my legs didn't move because something else was up there, a smell, not rot, not trash. Skin. Warm skin. Human skin. Like someone had been sweating in the dark for a long time. I kept the flashlight trained on the blanket nest, refusing to look away, refusing to turn my back. But out of the corner of my eye, I saw it, another Polaroid. I picked it up without meaning to. My hands moved on their own. This one wasn't of me. It was of the back of my car. Taken earlier that morning. I recognized the timestamp. 7:14 a.m. I hadn't left the house yet. I'd been inside brushing my teeth. Someone had been outside. Watching. Waiting. I backed toward the attic opening. One shaky step at a time. Halfway there, the flashlight flickered. Once, twice, then went black. No. No. I slapped at U.S.E.L.E.S.S.L.Y. In the dark. Something shifted behind me. Soft, bare feet on insulation. I didn't think. I dove for the opening. My shoulders slammed the frame. Pain exploded down my arm. I didn't stop. I dropped straight through onto the hallway floor, landing hard on my knees. Something thumped above me. Something following. I grabbed the broom handle and jammed it upward, slamming the attic door closed. Then I shoved the chair back under it, wedging it tight. Something pressed against the hatch from above. Testing it, not hard, not violent. Just testing, like it knew I wasn't going anywhere. Sprinted for my bag, keys, wallet, phone, charger. I didn't even bother zipping it. I just grabbed everything and ran. I didn't look behind me. If I'd looked, I think I would have seen the attic door start to open. Outside, the woods felt wrong. Too quiet. Too still. My car sat in the clearing, exactly where I left it. Nothing obviously disturbed. But when I got closer, my stomach dropped. The passenger door was cracked open, just an inch. Enough to say, I was here. Enough to say, I got inside. Didn't even check what they touched. I just threw my bag into the back seat, got in, and slammed the lock shut. Then I saw something in the rear view mirror. Not movement, not a face, just something small. A hair tie I didn't own, placed in the cup holder behind me like a gift. Or a reminder. The car started on the third try. My hands were shaking too hard to turn the key right. I tore out of there. Gravel spitting up behind me. The cabin shrinking in the mirror until the trees swallowed it. I didn't breathe until I reached the highway. Didn't stop for food. Didn't check my phone. Just drove. Hours passed. Sun went down. Moon followed me across the sky like an accusation. I kept the doors locked even at gas stations. Even in daylight. Especially in daylight. Because now I knew something impossible. They lived there. With me. The whole time. When I finally pulled into my apartment building, I got out slowly, scanning every shadow, every parked car, every stairwell like my life depended on it. I kept telling myself, "You're home. It's over." But the second I stepped inside my apartment, the fear hit me again, harder, because I knew the feeling, that sensation of being watched, and it was here. Home wasn't safer, home wasn't different. Whatever was in that cabin hadn't stayed behind. It started small. My bedroom light turning on while I was in the shower. My toothbrush moved from the holder to the sink. A spoon in the dish rack that I hadn't used. Normal things. Explainable things. Except I lived alone. One morning, I woke up and found my shoes lined up perfectly by the edge of my bed. Every pair, like someone had arranged them. While I slept. Another night, my phone buzzed at 2:11 a.m. A message from an unsaved number. "Nice place. More room than the cabin." I blocked it immediately. But blocking didn't help, because a minute later, I got another one. "Unknown number. I like this one better." I threw the phone across the room. The screen cracked. The messages stopped. For a day. On the second night, I heard something that made my blood run cold. Footsteps. Inside the walls. Slow. Dragging. Deliberate. It wasn't in the photos. Not in the description. Not in the host's welcome message. Not in the glowing reviews. There was no mention of an attic, but it was there, and I think that's why I was chosen. The place was perfect on paper. A short-term rental just outside Asheville. Clean, minimal, tucked into the trees but not too remote. The kind of place that looked designed to disappear in. I needed quiet. I was on a deadline for a grant project, and I'd been looking for a place to hole up and write for weeks. The host, Mel, sent me a friendly message an hour after I booked. "Hey, thanks so much for choosing our place. There's no Wi-Fi, but the cell signal's solid. Feel free to reach out with anything." Normal, chill. I didn't reach out. Not at first. The first day was fine. Actually, it was great. I unpacked, made tea, walked the property. There were wildflowers near the tree line, and a soft breeze that made the wind chimes outside the kitchen hum just enough to remind me I wasn't totally alone in the world. But by the second night, something felt wrong. Not bad. Just off. Like the house had too much space inside it. Like the ceilings were taller than they needed to be. Like it held more than just me. I noticed it when I stood in the hallway and looked. There was a square panel in the ceiling. White, wood-framed, blending into the paint. An attic hatch. That was the first red flag, because this was a one-bedroom cottage. Low slope roof. Flat ceiling. I'd looked through the listing photos a dozen times before booking. Every angle, every corner. No mention of an attic. No access ladder. No reason it should have been there. And yet, there it was. I stared at it longer than I should have. Nothing around it. No scuff marks, no cord to pull, no signs of use. But I couldn't stop picturing what was up there. I texted Mel. "Hey. Quick question. Is there an attic space above the hallway?" They didn't respond right away. So I tried again, casually. Just noticed a ceiling panel. Didn't see it in the listing. Still nothing. Later that night, I got a short reply. "Hey, weird, never noticed that. You should be good though. No storage up there." Smiley face. That was it. Something about the message felt rushed. Like they knew and didn't want me asking again. That night I couldn't sleep. Every time I closed my eyes, I imagined something crawling across the ceiling above me. Not loud, just subtle. Skin against insulation. Nails dragging wood. At one point, I thought I heard something fall up there. A soft thud. Like a box tipping over. I sat up in bed, heart pounding. Listened. Silence. Then slowly creak. Like weight shifting above my head. Like footsteps. The next morning, I stood in the hallway and stared up at the hatch. Again. Still no cord. but now there were faint scratches near the corner of the panel, like something had been pushed from the inside. I backed away without realizing it. That was the moment I started counting the windows. The listing said the house had 4.1 in the living room, 1 in the kitchen, 2 in the bedroom. I'd seen them all, but now I was noticing a fifth. Tiny, square, frosted. High above the bathroom door. Way too high for the one-story house the photos had shown. I went outside to look from the yard to double-check. I circled the house. There it was, a small window, tucked beneath the roofline, dusty, shadowed. Part of a room I wasn't supposed to know about. I texted Mel again. "Hi, I think there's a window up top. Might be nothing, just didn't see it in the photos." No reply. This time, not even a read receipt. That evening, I tried working on my laptop, but I couldn't focus. I kept checking the hallway, glancing at the ceiling, listening. Eventually, I gave in. I dragged a chair under the hatch, climbed up. The panel didn't move at first. Stuck. Then I pressed harder, and it popped loose with a soft, dry crack. I lifted it slowly. A wave of cold, stale air washed over me. Dust floated down. And beyond the open panel, a space. Not huge. But bigger than it should have been. I used my phone light and peered. Inside, sloped ceiling, floorboards, no boxes, no insulation. Just a room. And against the far wall, a mattress that thin, folded in half, stained at the edges. Next to it, a blanket, a stack of notebooks, a water bottle, and a chair facing the opening. Like someone had been watching the hatch. Waiting. I nearly dropped the panel trying to close it. My heart felt like it was slamming against the inside of my skull. Once it was shut, I grabbed my keys, threw my backpack over one shoulder, and got into the car. I didn't care if I'd only stayed 2 nights. I didn't care about the refund. I was leaving. I backed out of the gravel drive and onto the road, fast, nearly clipping a tree as I turned. I told myself I'd drive straight to a motel, but 2 miles down the road, my phone buzzed. A message from Mel. "You went up there?" That's all it said. No greeting, no apology. Just a question. Then another message came in. "You weren't supposed to open it." I pulled over so hard I kicked up gravel. Mel's message glowed on my screen. "You went up there?" And then, "You weren't supposed to open it." My hands were shaking so badly I almost dropped the phone. Before I could even think, another message popped up. "Don't go back inside." Inside? Inside what? I wasn't in the house anymore. I wasn't even close. I was nearly 3 miles down the mountain road. So why did they send that? Why did it sound like a warning? Why did it sound like they could still see me? I should have kept driving. Should have taken it as a sign. Should have left everything behind and never looked back. But panic does stupid things to your brain. All I could think about was the backpack I'd left sitting on the kitchen table, laptop, wallet, keys, medication. Everything important. Everything that connected me to the outside world. And I didn't want to go to the police empty-handed, sounding insane, with nothing to prove what I'd seen. So like an idiot, I turned around. The drive back felt longer, the trees denser, the sky heavier. By the time the cabin came into view, the wind chimes on the porch weren't tinkling anymore. They were still, absolutely still. No wind, no movement, no sound, like the whole house was holding its breath. Waiting for me to come back. The front door was closed, not locked. Just shut. Too neatly. The way I hadn't left it. I swallowed hard. "Grab the bag," I whispered to myself. "Grab it and go." Inside, everything looked the same. At first, couch untouched, blankets folded, laptop sitting exactly where I'd left it. But there was a new sound. Soft dragging above me. Like someone shifting their weight slowly across floorboards. floorboards that didn't exist. Except in the attic. I froze. My pulse throbbed in my throat. I could almost taste the blood. I didn't want to look up. I did. Anyway, and saw it. The hatch panel pushed open again, just an inch, like someone inside had nudged it to see if I was back. Grabbed my backpack and backed toward the door, not turning around, not taking my eyes off the ceiling. I made it 3 steps before the sound changed. No more dragging. Now it was closer. Creak, creak, someone crawling toward the opening at an angle, right above me. I bolted for the front door, but the second I reached for the handle, my phone buzzed loudly in my pocket. I nearly screamed, heart hammering. I yanked it out. New message, but not from Mel. From an unknown number. He's still in there. My stomach dropped, because if that message wasn't from the host, then who? A floorboard snapped in the attic. I ran. I didn't look behind me, didn't look at the windows, didn't look at the driveway. I sprinted straight to the car and drove like every shadow on the road was about to step in front of my headlights. I didn't breathe until I hit the main highway. Didn't cry until the gas station 20 miles away. Didn't check my phone until I was surrounded by people again. Mel had messaged back. 4 unread messages. I didn't send those. I don't know who is in the house. I'm calling the sheriff. Please tell me you're safe. I typed a shaky reply. Who lives in the attic? Their response came almost instantly. No one is supposed to. Supposed to. Not no one does. Not it's been empty for years. Just not supposed to. I drove home that night. Didn't tell anyone. Didn't sleep. My phone buzzed around 3:17 a.m. A voicemail. No caller ID. I didn't want to listen. I had to. I pressed play. At first, just static. Then breathing. Deep. Unsteady. Like someone holding the phone too close to their face. Then, a whisper. You left your window open. I dropped the phone, ran to my bedroom, and froze, because the window, the one I had absolutely locked before getting into bed, was open 2 inches, just like the attic hatch. Just enough to watch. Just enough to listen. I shut it, locked it, pushed the dresser in front of it. It made no difference, because when I checked my phone again, there was a photo waiting for me, taken from inside my bedroom, taken while I was asleep, taken from above me, from a height that should be impossible, unless someone was standing on something. Or had climbed down from somewhere higher. I blocked the number, turned off the phone, sat awake until dawn. When the sun finally rose, I checked the photo one more time, hoping maybe I was imagining things, but there was another detail I hadn't seen before, on the wall behind my bed. Dust trails. Vertical. Thin. Like something had crawled down the wall headfirst. I moved the next day, didn't go back, didn't retrieve anything I left, and I didn't respond to Mel's messages asking what I saw. But here's what I think. The attic wasn't part of the house's plans. It wasn't part of the listing. It wasn't meant for guests. It was for someone else. Someone the host didn't want to admit was still there. Someone who learned how to move quietly, how to stay unseen, how to slip through crawl spaces and vents and cracks in the drywall. Someone who watched me sleep. Someone who followed me home.